This was my workshop, the place where I kept my tools, equipment, and everything I needed for my projects. I never expected my HOA to turn this simple building into the center of a neighborhood dispute. I had spent years turning this workshop into a useful private workspace. It wasn't a parking lot, and it certainly wasn't community property. When I came home that afternoon, I found an SUV sitting directly across my workshop doors. And then I realized exactly whose vehicle it was. Linda acted like parking there was completely normal. She told me she would move it when she was finished with whatever she needed to do. I checked the doors and realized I couldn't even access my own workshop properly. That was the moment I decided the situation had to be handled calmly and permanently. Linda started talking about HOA expectations and what she believed homeowners were supposed to tolerate. But none of that changed one simple fact. This was my private workshop. I didn't argue with her. I documented the situation instead. I wanted everything clearly recorded before I made my next move. That evening, I went through my property documents and workshop records. I wanted to make sure I understood exactly what belonged to me and what responsibilities I had. I decided I wasn't going to spend my vacation worrying about another vehicle blocking my workshop. Instead, I planned a simple improvement to secure the building while I was away. I prepared the equipment and safety gear I needed for the workshop door project. Everything would be done carefully on my own property, with safety as a priority. I reinforced the workshop doors so they would stay secure while I was gone. The work was deliberate, controlled, and focused entirely on protecting my own building. By sunset, the workshop was secured exactly the way I wanted it. Now nobody could casually treat the entrance like an open parking space. When Linda came back, she immediately noticed the changes. Her confident expression disappeared almost instantly. She wanted an explanation, but I didn't give her an argument. I simply explained that I had secured my private workshop and was preparing to leave town. Once the workshop was secure, I packed my bags. For the first time in days, I felt completely ready to stop thinking about the HOA drama. Before leaving, I did one final walk around the property. Everything was secure, organized, and exactly where it needed to be. I loaded my luggage, locked up, and headed out. I wasn't interested in another argument. I was finally going on vacation. As the neighborhood disappeared behind me, I decided to put the whole situation out of my mind. For the next few days, I was going to enjoy some peace. For the first time in a while, I wasn't thinking about HOA meetings or parking disputes. I was exactly where I wanted to be. But back home, Linda still wasn't happy about the situation. The secured workshop had become a reminder that she couldn't simply assume access to someone else's property. The issue eventually reached an HOA discussion. This time, the other homeowners wanted to understand exactly what had happened before taking sides. The photographs made the situation much clearer. Everyone could see where the vehicle had been parked and why I had secured the workshop. Once the facts were on the table, the conversation changed completely. It wasn't about who complained the loudest anymore. It was about what actually happened. Linda finally realized that parking in front of my workshop had created the entire problem. The argument she thought would work in her favor wasn't nearly as strong as she expected. While all of that was happening, I was still enjoying my vacation. Sometimes the best response to neighborhood drama is simply refusing to let it ruin your day. When I finally returned home, the neighborhood looked exactly the same, but the situation around my workshop had changed. My workshop was still secure, exactly as I had left it, and most importantly, the parking problem was no longer something I had to worry about. Eventually, we had a much calmer conversation. I made it clear that I wanted simple boundaries and basic respect, not a neighborhood war. After that, things finally went back to normal. My workshop was mine again, and I could use it without wondering who might park in front of it. Sometimes you don't need a huge fight to solve a neighborhood problem. You just need clear boundaries and a little patience. And that vacation, it turned out to be exactly what I needed. If you enjoyed this HOA story, subscribe and tell us where you're watching from.